Hey, what's up, y'all? People by log everyone. I don't know why this thing kept on closing me out of Instagram.
Is it working out?
You need a phone?
Yeah, I might. I'll start to read the comments. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Woke Wednesdays. Welcome back. If you close me, I'll let you know. Welcome back to Woke Wednesdays. If you're just now joining us, we do this every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Watch out, real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, dude.
Let me see if I can take this off. Instagram is not cooperating tonight. That's cool. All right, so if you're just now joining us, we do this every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome back. Last week we talked about what does it mean to be a Latina woman. We had a panel of 4 brilliant and beautiful, inside and out Latina women. They were just so smart. Their insight was amazing. And tonight we're talking about what does it mean to be a Latino man. So we've talked about different things. So far. But if we could reintroduce ourselves, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm Rodrigo. I'm Cuban American from Miami, born here. Both my parents were born in Cuba. They came during the 70s. Graduated from FIU with a degree in communications last spring. And since then I've been working in politics.
What do you do in politics?
Well, I worked during the election season. Last year. I ran my own campaign for school board. Well, it wasn't my campaign, but I was the campaign manager.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a hell of an experience. It taught me a lot about local politics. And then I eventually started working for a political communications firm, and now I'm trying to get to start working in a political office. But other than that, I guess I like to say that I have a foot inside of local politics, which I think a lot of people don't. And I think, I don't even know why I'm going on a tangent, but local politics is really important. But,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Introduce yourself, por favor.
My name is Nelson Fritz, again, a.k.a. Negro Fino. I have my background. I have 15 years in banking, mortgage banking, and currently I'm a realtor, and I'm a licensed life insurance agent, and I also run several Latin nightclubs, ballrooms, Latin.
That's
ballrooms.
how we met. Yeah, that's how we met. Yeah.
And also concerts as well. So feel free to look me up on Facebook and on Instagram as Negro Fino. On Instagram, it's a cartoon face with my sunglasses on, and stay in the know with Negro Fino. Each and every single Thursday is Salsa Bachata Thursdays, where we provide free classes at 9 o'clock.
So tomorrow night.
So tell a friend, bring a friend, send a friend.
There you go. And my name is Hurston Sanchez. We do Woke Wednesdays every single Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm a second-year student in the PhD program here at Florida International University. My focus is in education, specifically race and ethnicity, looking at all that stuff and how that works. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, about them. Real quick, how do we identify ethnically? Just so that people can know, we have some new folks logging in. So ethnically, go.
Latino / Hispanic, identify as both. Racially, I kind of identify as Latino / Hispanic as my race. I identify as a Cuban American. I think that was the politically what do we identify as?
Cool,
Cuban American.
Awesome. Yourself?
Me, I identify myself as a Latino, Hispanic, Black, and
ethnicity, background, countries.
Black. Oh, my background, I'm Haitian and Dominican, French and Guadeloupe. I consider myself a hybrid, and it's an interesting thing that you asked me that I didn't mention in the first half.
Real quick, before we get to that.
Go ahead.
And they're asking about Hector. Where'd Hector go? Hector had to go. Hector is part of a fraternity. He has a fraternity meeting tonight. So Hector is always on the move. They're saying, how can this be a panel of Latino men without a Boricua? You're right. But he was actually going to leave at 9:30, so he ended up leaving 30 minutes later to hang out with us. So shout out to Hector for coming through tonight. Great young man. Feel free to follow him. Feel free to follow everybody on Instagram. I put their handles on there. And then I'm Nika. My family's from Nicaragua, and I was born in the United States, so Nika American, if I have to add some hyphens to it. So what are we going to say?
Yeah, when When it came to the ethnicity part, what was interesting, I remember when I moved down in '97 from New York. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I really strongly consider myself as a Brooklynite. And I had a Puerto Rican mortgage broker. So he asked me that question that's in the box, like, what do you consider yourself? And I said, a black Hispanic. He looked at me, he was like, black Hispanic? I was like, yeah, black Hispanic. He was like, how? And I was like, because my grandmother's Dominican. My mom's half Dominican and half Haitian and French, you know? And he was like, okay. And I said, let me ask you this. You're Puerto Rican, right? It was like, yeah. Now, a New Rican has never been to Puerto Rico for 5 generations, speaks no English, but yet they consider themselves Puerto Rican. My grandmother that I saw when I was alive and she babysat me was Dominican. She was like, yeah, you're a black Hispanic. You know, you check the box. So it's interesting, even within the Hispanic community, it's like we don't see us, you know, like there's a certain visual or a certain expectation of what a Hispanic is supposed to look like.
I think, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But I think when it comes to like Latino or Hispanic culture, Latin American culture, like I'm talking about my own, I think colorism is something that's a lot more rampant than racism.
I wanted to get into that. Yeah. Yes, we're about Can I build on your
hold it? Like bring it up whenever you need to.
I want to bring it up now.
Okay, perfect.
But I want to tie it into the issue of relationships.
Yeah.
Colorism within our communities is a real thing. Clearly, we are all Latino men, and we all look different, color-wise, height, clearly, right? Hair texture, whatever. We all look different, but we can identify on some level of Latino-ness. But here's a question for you, right? When it was time for you to bring a girl home, right? You have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
You are married. I'm chilling. So, what did your parents say about who you brought home? Was color important? Was ethnicity important? Colorism, was that something that played a factor? Who were you allowed to bring home? Who were you not allowed to bring home? Specifically, racially. We can get into a gender too, and why. Please feel free to
I'll say for me, I never had a my dad passed away when I was 13. So when I got into the age of like dating and all of that, his voice wasn't necessarily in my ear. But when it came with my mom, there was never a racial, like, you can't date a black girl, like you can't date someone's dark. My mom, to give her like all the credit in the world, my mom pretty much will let me date whoever it is. Like, she just wants that person to like treat me with respect and care about me and all those corny things or whatever. But I will say this, when I was young, my father would say things of like, you better not bring a girl to my house that has thin legs. And looking back now, I'm like, how do you tell that to you? Like,
thin legs. Shout out to all the thick girls out there.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the thick girls.
My dad had a thing for legs, and he told me as like, I remember I was like in kindergarten, first grade, and I remember hearing this. And looking back, I'm like, that's a horrible thing to tell a little kid. But I guess there was more of a physical element to, at least for my dad. But granted, when it came to my like actual like when I was dating or started dating, that voice wasn't necessarily.
Did they ever mention anything racially or
not really? No, not really.
What about you?
Completely different.
Yeah.
Now, in my household, I'm gonna go when on my bachelor days. I gotta be specific, okay? In my household, growing up, I thought I could predict, I thought I could date any ethnic group that I can, until one day I brought home a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Irish girl. And my mom was washing the dishes, and it was her and her girlfriend that was Puerto Rican. And she says, she drops the dishes, and they said hello. She dropped the dishes. She said, Nelson, can I speak to you alone for a second in the other room? I said, sure, Mom. And then I went to the other room.
Who's Dominican in your
my
your
mother.
Your mom.
My mother is Haitian, Dominican, and French.
Oh, wow.
My father is Haitian and Guadeloupe. Okay. So
you're as Caribbean as it gets.
yeah, I'm Caribbean as it gets. I'm Latino as it gets. So my mom took me to the other room and she said, if you don't get that woman, she said other things, but I'm gonna. If you don't get that woman out of my house, I'm gonna embarrass you and kick them out of my house and stuff.
Damn.
And I'm like who? I was in shock because my mom didn't. My family never showed any prejudice or bigotry towards no one, you know. So it wasn't until later when I had to sit down with her, she was telling me like, listen, let me explain something to you, son. When you're dealing with a white American, the only reason a white American is dealing with you is because you powdered. There's a saying. It's like you're powdered, like a baby. You know, poor babies walking around butt naked. But when you have a baby that has diaper and is powdered, that means you're privileged. Okay? So I was powdered in her definition, in her saying. Because when you're dealing with a white American and they dealing with you, it's because you're different. Okay, to them, you're in the largest Catholic university in the world, St. John's University. Okay, I'm an alumni, St. John's University, St. John's University, Redmond, not Red Storm, Redmond. Okay, old school. So then, you know, you're educated, you're smart, you got your whole future ahead of you. You speak multiple languages, so to her, you're a benefit. Just same way when you see white women go to football players, athletes, you know, boxers and politicians and stuff, is that you're already a different class. You understand what I'm saying? So to me, that was the first reality check that I got from my mom. It was kind of disappointing. You know, like I didn't expect it from my mother, but I could have come home with, and it's funny, it goes both ways. I could have come home with Trini, Jamaican, Caribbean, Hispanic, Indian, whatever, Asian, whatever. But the two spectrums, I couldn't come home with a African American, and I couldn't come home with a white American.
Interesting.
I could come home with a Frenchman, a French woman, not a Frenchman, a French woman, a European woman. I could come home with an African woman, but I can't come with a black American and a white American.
So you could come home with a white woman from Cuba or a black woman from Cuba.
No problem.
No problem. But it's the American that's very interesting.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
So my mom, she taught me to cook when I was young, right? And she was like, the only reason I'm teaching you to cook is in case you marry a white girl. Because to her, white women did not cook. She said they don't use condiments. There's no adobo. Like, you need sazon. Like you need season. They don't season. So she would tell me that thing, right? I had a white girl phase. I dated 2 white girls in my life. Most of the girls I brought home were black. And my mom, she always wanted me to date someone who spoke Spanish, so she could, because my mom still doesn't speak English. But it's very interesting. The first person who pulled me aside and gave me the talk. Because there's a talk that goes on. At least, there's a talk in North Carolina. Was my best friend's dad. My best friend is black, and his dad pulled me aside. He said, "Hey, I heard y'all been hanging out with white women. You need to be careful. Understand that we're in the South. We're in North Carolina. This is the South. Things have often played out a certain type of way. So just be very careful. You for being black, and you for being an illegal. And he said illegal in a very loving way, but he meant what he was saying. Obviously, he knew I was born here, my parents from Nicaragua, but he was saying the way that I would be racialized in an illegal way.
Yeah.
Right? Which is interesting because we have to unfortunately, we live in a world where these things are real, and we have to pay attention to these things. Right? And it's horrible, right? Because the white girl that I was dating was real sweet. She was real nice. But one time we were walking in downtown, and we were playing around, and for some reason she decided to yell out rape.
Oh, no.
And she was, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And she was like, she was laughing, and I'm like, you don't play like that. I'm like, no. And she was like, but I don't see color. And I was like, but so how do you stop at a stoplight if you don't see color? Like, and I was there's the racialization that goes on when you say things like this in public.
Yeah.
I get that you're playing, but you can't afford to play like that with me because
Yeah,
something
other
can
people
happen.
Play, yeah.
So intercultural relationships is a real thing, and it can be dangerous. It has throughout history. It has been dangerous. People have literally been lynched, have been killed because they dated someone who did not look like them.
Yep.
Right.
And see, a lot of Hispanics here may not know this, but black people were not the only ones being lynched. There've been a lot of cases where Hispanics were lynched as well.
At the turn of the 20th century, there was this report that came out by Harvard, because it was predominantly Mexican people who were here in the United States at that time. They were lynched at the same rate, not as many, but at the same rate as black people in the United States. So about 5,000 black people were lynched within a span of 150 years. Interesting, look, black people were not lynched during slavery. They were not lynched during slavery because you needed the black body to do work.
Why would you?
Right? That's capital. That is money. That is a commodity.
Why would you kill your employee?
Exactly. Or your form of
Cattle.
capital. Your workforce.
Cattle.
Yeah.
You only start lynching after slavery has ended to put in fear, right? So Mexicans were also lynched at the same rate, right? About 700 were lynched. A lot of them were women. Women were being lynched. Mexican women were being lynched because if a white man tried to rape them and they said no, that was a way of you resisting. So now you get lynched because you did not want to be raped.
Wow, I didn't know
This was a real thing that happened in this country. And only at the turn of the 20th century, so that's about 120 years ago maybe? About 120 years ago. That's like two grandmas. Like two abuelitas. Like, this has happened in our country. Our country has a horrible, horrific past, like many other countries. But I think that is important to address. And that is part of the Latino experience Latina experience in the United States. Constant colonization, constant genocide, constant raping of lives, of minds, right? Of emotion, of religion. Constant raping of that. So I think that is important to address.
Now I know that he's from Cuban descent, and a thought just came in my mind, and I wanted to bring that up. When I first came to Miami, you gotta understand, I came from New York, from Brooklyn, New York, where I pledged a black fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, Blue Phi, okay. And
shout out to Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
1914, baby.
1906 comes before.
So shouts out to the GDI.
Goddamn individual. If you don't know what GDI stand for, so where in my fraternity, we had a lot of people with melanin. Okay, and I'm going to touch that topic later. They were black. They were of color. People of color. And when I moved to Miami, and I thought that Miami was predominantly, white folks. I'm in the South. But then when I would turn around in the supermarket or the barber shop and everything, and the mall, and I hear que todo, que, I'm like,
hey, que todo el mundo se da.
I'm like, blonde hair, blue, white, like. You speak Spanish? Like it was a culture shock for me.
Yeah.
Now, when I looked at my frat in the chapter, especially the chapter I was in, we were all Latinos. It was 85% Latinos.
In a black frat.
My friends, exactly. My friend, my frat brother Ted Lover was Panamanian. My Carlos was Dominican. Everybody else was, and Puerto Ricans. Everybody, and Haitians. Like everybody was Latino. So when I came here, I was shocked with seeing how many white Cubans, okay? But what really got me was that when I would go to this nightclub called Café Nostalgia off the Gumphrey Causeway in Miami Beach, I would see like these like old white ladies like with the handkerchief and I'm like, oh my God, like she can't be white American, you know what I'm saying? And she was Cuban.
Yeah.
So to me, what bugs me out is that I couldn't understand how Cubans here would be like, oh, I'm a Republican, I'm white, and I'm this and I'm that, but yet Cubans
on a whole is so Afrocentric.
Yeah.
Bro, salsa.
And
Oye.
salsa, guaguancó, like
Celia Cruz,
mambo,
it's like
Celia Cruz,
black.
all of that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
So Afrocentric, Santeria, brujeria,
Yeah.
all of that stuff, you know?
You know what's funny?
But then
bro?
they're like, I have no
Yeah.
distinction, no identity
That's a lot of the
with
same.
black
That's a
people,
lot of the same
African
thing.
people,
But that's a lot
whatsoever,
of
bro.
the same thing happens in America. We love black culture, but we don't love black people.
It's amazing. It's amazing. No, I'm serious.
Yo, we
It
love
has
the-
to
we love the music.
We have to discuss it. This
We
is a
love the
dialogue.
music.
You know what I'm saying?
Rodrigo just dropped some knowledge on us.
You got guaguancó, you got hip hop, you got the culture. They know all the saints.
That's
they
a
know
great
all
parallel.
the all the dances,
Wow.
and they so Afrocentric. There's even a Cuban saying. I don't know if you're familiar with it. They said if you're not from the Congos, you're from Canavali. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, how could you be the sayings that I hear these old white Cubans say? I swear to you, sounds like my mom, my grandparents, and I'm like, but how you don't you don't see any blackness in you, but to me, you look like an albino black person.
So real quick.
You know?
So it's funny. My American black friends will be like, yo, play some black music. I'll play salsa music. I'm like, this is black music.
Rock and roll.
I tried
Bachata,
to tell one of my friends a few months ago. One of my best friends, I told him, Celia Cruz is hip hop. Like, listen to her. Like, I could easily see the same music, a little different, obviously, being done today. It's the same thing.
Now, Rodrigo, let me ask you something. Because I don't know if you're gonna take this the wrong way, but I hope you don't.
No, it's fine.
It's not meant to be. So, like Nelson, like myself, like us coming here was in a way a culture shock. Seeing people that we're used to identifying with on a cultural level, right? Even if we're not racially the same, the connection was so tight. The Latino-ness, the minority-ness, like there was a bond there, right?
Yeah.
And coming here was kind of a shock for me. Yeah. I'm sure it was for you. Like, why are these people not identifying? Why are they not rocking with me? Like, we're on this together, right? You're one of the few lighter-skinned Cubans that I've met that is very much aware of racialization, of all these other things.
But you gotta understand, it's his generation.
No, but I don't know if
Even my generation.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
But I can't.
Listen, he's coming from the generation.
I can't agree with that though.
He's coming from the generation of what's his name, Pitbull. You understand?
Pitbull's in his 30s.
305.
Pitbull fucks with Republicans. Like, let's not be. I love Pitbull.
But you gotta understand.
But he rocks with Republicans too.
When I couldn't understand, I did two things. One, I saw all the series and seasons of Que Pasa USA. That helped me understand Cuban mindset. Okay, and the second thing, I studied Cuban history. Okay,
yes,
the Bay of Pigs. Yeah. Cubans did not start off Republican.
No.
When they were backstabbed by the U.S. government, but under John F. Kennedy, okay, with the Bay of Pigs, with no backup, no anything, they were Democrats. Cubans are typical Caribbean. You F with me,
you fuck with me,
I never forget you to the day I die. You understand what I'm saying? Haitians are like that, Jamaicans are like that, Caribbeans are like that.
And what's funny is, like, even on a political level, like Cuba, and I'll say the most recent election kind of changed my mind, and I don't even mean 2016. I mean, like, there was literally a local election to replace a state senator.
Yeah, about a week ago.
Yeah, named Frank Artiles, and they replaced him. And a Democrat won, and I was shocked. I volunteered for that campaign.
Yeah, but that's the new generation.
We need you back on the show to talk about politics.
Definitely, but when it comes to, like, even locally, like, Republicans overwhelmingly win, and the reason they win is because, one, of tactics. Like, once you're in power, you can kind of, like, let yourself stay in power, but the tactics that they use are pretty much trying to scare people into thinking the same old communist bullshit. Like, this is a communist sympathizer, this is a terrorist, this is X, Y, and hopefully going forward it's not going to work anymore, but a lot of Cubans still, I guess, fall victim to the same old scam that, like, people have been, because, like, let's be honest, like, and I always say this as my, like, I'm so embarrassed that the one minority group that voted for Trump were Cubans. That is like one of the most embarrassing things as, like, culturally.
Did you see what I posted on Woke Wednesdays today? It was a woman from Nicaragua, right, with the most broken English, And talking about, I came the illegals, those dreamers. I came here legally,
them.
and I had this.
I wish I could go to college.
When the oppressed.
Yeah, oh my god, that one, yes. Yo, fuck that. No, let me stop everything. I'm tired of all the fucking Cubans, because my mom is one of them too, where it's like, oh, I didn't get any help from the government. Why shouldn't we help anyone? And I'm like, because they're fucking human beings. Like, they're people.
They did get help from the government.
And they did.
Because as a Haitian immigrant, okay, part Haitian, I'm talking about that, and when you catch two boats, one is filled with Cubans and the other one is filled with Haitians, the Haitians are going right back to the island, and if the Cubans hit land, they get the green card, $10,000.
Who's in power here?
They get all.
Who's in power in Miami? Who's in power in Miami? Like, look at the county commissioners. Look at the representatives.
So how? But she, like you said, she said that she didn't get any help. How you didn't get any help?
And so when we look at Cuban history as well, right? And this is so funny. It's the Latino show and we're talking about boats.
Yeah.
Right? So when you look at Cuban history as well, we have to address that there was a Cuban Refugee Act that went into legislation, and was literally boats being sent to Cuba to pick up people to bring them here. There was a Cuban Cubans have the U.S. government has literally given billions of dollars to Cubans to set up shop in Miami. Right, the CIA had front shops with different buildings, offices, and all this businesses, just fronting as a place, and people were getting paid off this. When we talk about systemic poverty, there's also systemic wealth, right? Just like systemic racism, right? There's also systemic privilege, right? And white Cubans, because there are also black Cubans, right, which are mostly back on the island, because who got to leave? Usually the people that were most privileged, right? There were two waves, really. The 60s, that were the very affluent white Cubans. In the 80s, were the more poor guajiros, right?
Mariel.
But they were also lighter skinned, right? So the black Cubans mostly stayed back on the island.
Unless they were musicians.
Unless they were musicians, entertainers, construction workers, which most of them were.
Baseball players.
They're saying, so glad Herson found the unicorn of Cubans.
I'll take it. Shouts out to Kristaps Porzingis.
I know that name.
He's plays for the Knicks.
He's Cuban?
No. He's from Europe.
He's Europe, right?
No, but he's called the unicorn.
Oh, he is? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. But yeah, so and I want to get a little bit into the N-word, right? If we can, because I think this conversation, I want to take it there. This is what Wednesday is. I try to be as raw, as real as possible, as transparent as possible. And let me preface this conversation by saying that I am a person who used this word for probably half of my life. So I grew up outside D.C. until I was like 13, 14. I grew up around a bunch of, we can call it quote-unquote inner city. That's become like a thing, like urban, right? Predominantly poor, brown, black kids. We had like a poor white kid. And we all said the word, but it was never meant in a malicious way. It was just that was our reality, and that's how we used it. Then I moved to North Carolina at about 13, 14, and I said it to the black kid, and I about lost my life. Right, racialization in the South, as opposed to very, very city-like north parts of the country, I realized they were very different. So I stopped saying the word. Then I moved to Miami, and everybody says the word, right? Especially Latinos who are light-skinned, who are white, non-black Latinos are saying the word, and that caught me off guard because you said something profound earlier, that you're willing to be down with black culture, listen to the music, right? Whatever, but you're not willing to be down with black people, right? You will dehumanize them. So when I grew up as a kid and we said the word, I was down with them, but now I'm hearing people here using this word, and it's like they're not down with them. So my question is, how do y'all feel about this word? Clearly we have three different or multiple racializations going on here, different ethnic backgrounds, but we're all Latino. How do we think about this word when we hear it? Your experiences with it. Nelson, you want to kind of maybe start off? Or...
Yeah, pick the black guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm from Brooklyn, right? And we use that where I was from with my crew. We use the word a lot. I feel very comfortable with it. But I also understand where the older generations did not approve because they struggled so hard to get rid of that word because it was a degrading type of word. But as we were the younger generation, we weren't calling each other nigger with an ER. Yeah. We were calling each other nigga with a GA. And it sounds too much the same that it didn't jive to them. Okay? And using the N-word, we used to say like it's a term of endearment. And we use it purposely so that we become numb to it, where it doesn't matter, to the point where the word nigger was considered an ignorant person. Okay? So yeah, you can have a white nigger, a Hispanic nigger, you could have a black nigger, an Asian nigger. You understand what I'm saying? And then it derived to nigga. Okay? And then there was a trend where we used to call white niggers wiggers. Okay?
Yeah, I remember that.
So we used to call them wiggers. Stupid. But I feel like that didn't kick off and it went back to nigga. Okay? So my personal opinion is, as I'm getting older and I have a daughter that's growing up, I would prefer not to use that word anymore unless someone is ignorant, because now my responsibility has changed.
Yeah.
Compared to you who have, when you have a child and you want to be a responsible parent, because some people have kids and they never plan on being a parent. I planned on being a parent.
That's facts.
So being a parent comes with a certain responsibility. And coming with a certain responsibility means that I have to be a role model. So if I have to be a role model to my daughter and be a positive person so she can get a positive male figure in her life, then I have to come correct.
You're getting deep on us now. Okay, all right, Nelson, all right. Okay.
So this the second half.
Okay.
So to me, I myself, as a black person, a person of color, a person that is melanated, because this is the part that I also wanted to bring up, we'll bring it up later, is that there's really no such thing as a black person and a white person. The fact of the matter is, there is such a thing scientifically of a melanated person and a non-melanated person. A non-melanated person is a white person. A melanated person is a black person. Okay? And
I'm just somewhere in the middle.
You're also melanated. As long as you have more melanin or any melanin whatsoever, you're melanated. So Mexicans, Indians, Asians, they're all melanated.
But real quick, there's also white Mexicans and white. I've some of the whitest people I've ever met, the greenest eyes, the blondest hair have been Mexican people.
Exactly.
Novelas.
Novelas.
Yeah. They whitewash everything. The only time you see black is when they're a server, a domestic server. Yeah.
Domestic. That's the key word. But I answered the word with the nigger part.
Yeah. So what do you? Now you grew up in Miami.
Yeah.
And like you grew up here. This word I just got a sub before the show, right? Left from class, got a sub, came here, and I heard the word at least 6 times from the guy making my sub.
Yeah.
And the dude lighter than you.
Yeah.
Lighter than you. And he dropped the word, and I'm just like, to be woke or not be woke? Like,
that is the question.
That is the question.
So often.
And now this man making my food. Like,
do you want to stop everything?
Like, I'm trying to eat. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, what do you think?
So, alright. So for me, I like my own personal experience and history using this word, or at least around this word. Full like a little bit of disclosure about me. I grew up on like BET, 106 in Park, Fresh Prince. Like I loved black culture. Like growing up, like I love hip hop. I'm a rap head. Like that is like something that gives me life. That it means a lot to me. So I guess you could say it was easier for me to become woke. But growing up, like my understanding of the word and the way like society and my community around me used it was more on a cultural level. Like it's a word you use,
A
like
term of endearment.
a term of endearment, like bro, like meaning a friend or whatever, right?
Exactly.
And I think the reason why is because, and I think it's something that we've all alluded to throughout this discussion, is the segregation within the city. Like there is a lot of segregation. Like I went to public and private school. I went to a public elementary, middle school, and I went to a private high school. And the more diverse ones were elementary and middle, and even then,
Of course, yeah.
the population wasn't heavily black. It was more Latino. But even then, when you're a little kid, it's kind of hard to like even looking back, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, what kind of diversity there was, because when you're little, you're
play
fresh,
with everybody.
you're fresh into this world, right? But by the time I was in high school, it was like 95% Cuban, or at least Latino, and very few black. And even like the other day, I was playing basketball at LA Fitness, and right by my house, and I live in Westchester, right next to Tropical Park, and there was
Huechete.
and there was like 2 black dudes in the basketball court, and there's rarely black people in the gym. Like it's very rare, and even then, when there is, it's a tiny percentage. So while a lot of people here feel like racism doesn't exist, or these concepts don't exist, it's not true, because a lot of people from my community don't interact with black people. A lot of people from Latin, Hispanic, or even white communities don't necessarily interact with black people, or at least as many black people. So they don't have that like human sort of interpretation of what that word might mean. Because like I guarantee you, a majority of the time, a person that says the N-word wouldn't necessarily say it in front of a black person. That being said, I've seen Cuban people use that word in front of black people, but it's definitely, they're in the majority, in the sense of like there's majority Cuban people around, or at least Latino people.
So real quick, one of the points I want to, and I keep on hearing this, and I want to get to you because I think you have a lot to say. We are dismissing an identity, and I want to make this quick point. It's like a kind of a side point.
Yeah.
We keep on saying Latino people and black people, Hispanic people and black people, Hispanic people and white people.
They can be both. Yeah, definitely.
We can. These terms are not synonymous. We cannot conflate. There are overlaps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we are all Latino men. Right? And I'm not saying this for you.
Yeah.
Because I see it in the comments. I see this happens too often. By saying that a Hispanic person and a black person, a Latino person and a white person.
Yeah.
Get this. We can be any color. We can literally be any color. And that's kind of one of the points I'm trying to draw at tonight. We can be racially different and ethnically different, right? We can be the same. This is more complicated than we oftentimes think about. So go ahead.
See, like you said, we're all Latinos here, but I completely understood what he meant.
Absolutely.
When he said,
absolutely,
like, when a Latino person wouldn't deal with a black person, I didn't consider myself as a black person. Because, like I said before in the first half, African Americans, when you ask them, what are you? They tell you, I'm black.
Yeah.
Okay, are you black Caribbean? Are you black Hispanic? Are you black this? Are you black that? No, I'm just black.
Yeah.
So when he says Latinos and black, I'm thinking Latinos and African American.
Yeah.
You understand?
Interesting.
I never put myself in the same category, even though I know I am conscious and aware that I am a black person.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You understand?
Yeah,
but culturally, I am
yeah.
not African American. Like in the first segment when I gave you the example of the bigot Jew that told me like, oh, you know, my nanny gave me like collard greens and chitlins. I was like, what is that? And he was like, how could you not know? You're black. I'm like, I'm Caribbean. I don't know that. And he said, "Oh, you guys think you're white."
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the verbiage that he used, the definition that he used it correctly. But I'm glad you addressed it.
We have to acknowledge.
You have to acknowledge that you don't want any miscommunication.
Because when we don't acknowledge it, so this is the thing. When we don't acknowledge something, we can dismiss it.
Yeah. Exactly.
In novelas, so novelas are soap operas within the Latin American community. Watch them. Just watch one. I don't even care. I don't even know what's playing nowadays. Just watch one. Watch who the prominent actors are.
Yeah.
Watch who the people in the domestic services, right? The people who are the least educated are. We are so colorist and
conditioned,
racist, all this shit against this idea of our own people doesn't really exist in a way, and it does exist, but it doesn't. But it's really complicated because we can identify on a Latino-ness. And the biggest thing that brings together is the Spanish language,
Yeah.
which is the language of the colonizer, right?
Or the culture.
Or the culture. Yes, but what is the
Or
culture?
the culture. Let me explain to you.
The
Let
culture
me
is also
add
a
on-
colonized culture.
Yes, but let me add on to what he said. When he said Latinos do not interact with blacks. Latinos, hold on.
Go ahead,
Latinos interact with me like MF, like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me explain why. When I moved down here, I told my realtor I wanted to be in a neighborhood that was mixed. It had Asians, blacks,
Oh, Lord.
Hispanic, and everything. So
Oh,
she
Lord.
took me to Miami Lakes.
Okay.
Little did I realize
Okay.
Miami Lakes is Hialeah. Okay?
You
So-
can't tell somebody from Miami.
No,
that,
you
though.
can't tell
you
that.
can't do that.
And you
Shout
can't
out
tell
to Hialeah.
Miami Lakes that they're Hialeah tampoco, you know?
No, yeah.
So, here I am.
Definitely.
I'm walking into a cafeteria
Yep.
in Miami Lakes, and I'm ordering my café con leche,
Hey,
okay?
hey, that's
And my
it.
tostada,
Hey, that's it.
and everything.
That's it.
And then Cubans
For
would
two-
come up to me,
for 98
Cubans that
cents.
spoke no English,
Yeah.
that was like, "Tu eres cubano?"
Yep.
And I'm like, "No, I'm not Cuban." So, if I was an African American,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
they wouldn't talk to me not because of the color of my skin.
Mm.
It's because the culture was
Yeah, you're not
completely
culturally-
different,
yeah.
and they didn't speak English.
Oh.
They didn't know how to communicate with me. So it's a thin line between bigotry, prejudice,
And
and
there's a lot
racism.
of black Cubans in there.
And there's a lot of black Cubans.
So-
because
and they don't-
listen,
and they- and-
me, the way I dress, the way I comport myself, I conduct myself as I comport. Okay, conduct myself.
that thing.
Exactly. The way I conduct myself. Okay, when I go into a place, they naturally assume I'm a black Cuban.
You know what it is?
Or I'm Dominican.
It's a little this.
Or I'm Dominican.
It's the this.
You understand what I'm saying?
You know.
And because this is the thing. When I realized when I moved to Miami, I'd go to a cafeteria and I order my coffee, my tostada, my eggs and bacon and everything. I open my
Scrambled eggs. Wait,
I,
hold on,
the
real
scrambled
quick.
eggs.
With cheese? With cheese.
No, I don't like the cheese. It's dairy.
Scrambled eggs with cheese.
Yo, I'm on a diet.
Scrambled eggs
So
with
then I take.
I literally today's day
cheese.
one of.
Who doesn't eat scrambled eggs with cheese? I can only eat my scrambled eggs with cheese.
Yo, for real though.
This might be a southern thing. It might be a southern thing.
Exactly, it's a southern.
Let me
thing.
know if you like
Okay.
your eggs scrambled with
So
cheese. Please
this
let
is
me know.
this is the this is where it's culture.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
take my tostada, I open it with mantequilla, okay, with my
okay.
butter, and I
Do you
dump
dip it in the coffee?
I
Of course
dip
you
it in the
do. Yo, of course you do. Of course you do. I grew up
African
with-
Americans don't do that shit. They just don't do that shit.
This is true. This is true.
Okay, and I said before, like in the earlier part of the program,
Yeah.
that I was raised in a Haitian, Cuban, Afro-Cuban household. So to me, that was normal. But when other people was to see me, they thought I was Cuban, and I'm like, no, I'm not Cuban. Why do you insist that I'm Cuban? Because of my behavior, my culture, the way what I find myself to be comfortable under my skin. You understand what I'm saying? So when he says black, you gotta understand that he's saying what he's meaning is black African American, but not
No,
black or skin.
I get that. I
just for the viewers.
Oh no, for sure.
For the viewers.
But I'm saying that we don't have. The United States does not teach our histories,
Yeah.
No,
right?
They don't.
We still celebrate Christopher Columbus Day.
exactly.
So
Shit, I
my,
went to Christopher Columbus High School. Shit, it makes
Exactly.
me feel bad.
fuck. Okay, that's bad. Okay, that's bad. I hadn't heard that one yet. My point is this: if we taught more about our histories, right, then we would have a better understanding of us. We would understand that yes, we can be Latino, we can be black, we can be white, we can be brown, we
Asian.
can be yellow, we can be whatever. We would have a better understanding of that. Black people would have a better understanding of el pan con leche, el pan con café, whatever. White people would too. Like, we would all have a better understanding, but we don't teach these things in our school systems.
Because education, there's a difference between education, formation, history, and his story.
Right? And indoctrination.
Now, let me tell and institutionalized,
All that
racism.
shit,
Now, let me explain something to you. I'm from New England, okay? Brooklyn, New York, okay?
Is New York New England? It's not New England.
Yo, it's up north.
It is.
It's New England, all right? So, when you think of up north New York, you think up north is the oldest part of the United States, which is not true. With the Pilgrims and
Yeah.
the Indians, it's not true at all. My reality check is when I went to St. Augustine and I found out that St. Augustine was the oldest city in the United States. I said, how could that be?
Yeah.
And it was like the tour guide read my mind. He says, for those of you that's from up north and thinking to yourself, how can that be? Let me explain. Because Florida was founded by Ponce de Leon under the Spanish rule.
Under the Spanish rule.
That's why Florida is called Florida.
Florida. Yeah.
Okay?
It's like land of
Floral.
flowers or something.
Floral.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's the oldest city. So, in New York, I thought New York was we're the bomb, son. You know, we got brownstones, we got this, we got cobblestone streets, we got the village, we got Manhattan, you know. But Florida was the oldest city. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of history. Because once you understand that history happens at the same time, there's Spanish history, English history, French history, and everything. That's when you could better understand each other.
And real quick, one thing we haven't really acknowledged that we're all colonized.
Yeah.
We are all colonized. And that's
On this side of the planet.
Yes, and that's one thing that we haven't really addressed. So tonight, I made a point earlier that we're talking about what it means to be the Latino man, but yet we're speaking in English.
Yeah.
Even if we were speaking in Spanish, Spanish is still the language of the colonizer.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say.
So who knows what
And
language
French.
you would be speaking? Maybe I would be speaking some type of indigenous language from Central America.
Yeah.
You probably some type of indigenous language from Africa, West Africa, most likely. Who knows? So we are so colonized. In a way, we're doubly colonized by the Spanish and by the Americans,
French,
the French,
the Portuguese.
Oh yeah, because you're super mixed.
The Portuguese.
Like, and so think of what has happened and what has transpired enough to even to have this conversation in English.
Let me drop more knowledge on you on the about the colonization.
Colonization.
Exactly. Thank you.
I got you, bro. I got you.
For the Colombians and the Venezuelans out there, okay?
Oh wow! Oh, you calling people out?
I'm calling people out, okay? I want you Colombians to go contact other Colombians and Venezuelans and say, yo, come in at Woke Wednesdays right now. Log in right now on IG. When I ask a Colombian and Venezuelan, how did slavery been abolished? They're like, huh? How was slavery abolished? There was slavery in South America, right? They're like, yeah. So how was it abolished? I don't know. Well, your hero, your national hero, is Simon Bolivar. Okay? That guy fought against the Spaniard, which all South America knows. He liberated 5 South American nations. Okay? But what most people do not know, when I ask a Colombian and Venezuelan about their history, I'm bringing it back to history, is how did he kick the Spaniards' butt? They're like, what do you mean by that? Well, the Spaniards was beating him. He went to Haiti, where the president was called Alexandre Pétion, okay? Alexandre Pétion in French, okay? And Pétion said, I will give you mercenaries, ships, supplies, weapons, and everything. But you got to promise me one thing. He says, what? When you go back to South America, in your rebellion, your revolution, you must abolish slavery. Because Haitians did not believe in enslaving anyone. Okay? And Simon Bolivar kept his word. He got his butt kicked the first time. He went back for more supplies. The second time, he beat the Spaniards. And I've had Colombians Google it in Spanish and everything, and they were like, oh my God, he's right. It's right here. Google it as we speak. You will find that history right there and there. So for those of you that think, okay, you got a Haitian guy, yeah, but I'm also part Dominican as well, but Haitians are considered Latino, you understand? And Brazilians are considered Latino as well. And Haitian people have been part of this side of the America's history so deep-rooted that a lot of people don't know that. They don't know that Haitians helped this country, the United States, get their liberation okay, from the British in Savannah, Georgia, which was one of the biggest battles that helped the United States get their independence.
Plantation area too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that Chicago was founded by a Haitian guy. You understand? From Louisiana, purchased from Napoleon. So I have a wealth of information, wealth of history, not his story, but factual history to show you that we all contributed in America. So when I meet Americans that want to exclude Mexicans by building a wall, I'm offended.
Uh-oh.
When I feel that
Build
that a president doesn't want to help
Build
Puerto
the wall.
Rico, you understand what I'm saying? I'm offended because they are also American. You said make America great again, except Puerto Rico? Except Puerto Rico? You know,
like
I'm
that.
offended.
I like that.
When I see that that we have a president or people in power or in the government that's discriminating against gays, discriminating against Asians, I am also offended.
Yeah.
Because how can you say you believe in the Constitution and free rights, you know, freedom of speech and equality and all these rights for everyone, liberty and justice for all, but when a light-skinned African American takes a knee,
Uh-oh.
you're
Don't do that.
offended by the flag.
First knee taken on Woke Wednesdays. They don't do that.
A flag.
Uh-oh.
A cloth.
Uh-oh. And next week, we're going to be talking about this. Next week, we're going to that's actually next week's topic, Cabernet. So, everybody's dropping knowledge tonight. Everybody, you dropped the mic dropper. You've been just spitting out history and like you online. Like
Those who fail to study history
You're
are
right.
doomed to repeat it again and again and again.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But our educational system does not teach those things, and I think it's on purpose.
It's on purpose.
Because it's a way to dominate, right? James Baldwin was talking. If anyone reads anything, please read James Baldwin. James Baldwin was talking about the paradox of education, and was talking about how, as someone begins to learn, as someone begins to question things critically, if we're boring you, please let me know.
No, it's just late.
Okay.
It's late.
This is paradoxical to the United States. No one likes a person who thinks for themselves. That's what he was arguing. Please think for yourself. Please think. Please read. Please question. And I'm saying this because I want to end the show on this. Some final words as we end tonight. What does it mean? What does it even mean to be a Latino man? That was tonight's topic. Tonight's question. What does it even mean?
We didn't even
to
get
be
to
a
the
Latino?
dating. The dating.
Oh yeah, we wanted to get it. We talked a little bit about dating. But yeah, Rodrigo. It's funny. It's funny how we say our names. Our names are funny because sometimes we say them with an English accent. Sometimes we say with a Spanish accent. Our names are interesting, and I think it says a lot about something sociologically. Damn, it's raining outside.
Yeah.
It's raining. I hope y'all got umbrellas.
I got umbrella.
Yeah, you don't got an umbrella?
Nah, I got, I'll run.
You got oh damn! I got a dorm. I'm gonna stay right here.
It's Miami.
So some parting words.
All right.
So tonight we've talked about what does it even mean to be a Latino man?
All right. So I guess my parting words will be when you like approached me and asked me to come on and you told me the
Yeah. Well, actually, you approached me first.
True, this is true.
Months ago.
And
your point was, I want to talk about this because these people are problematic, and I need to address this.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I
Yeah.
loved your passion for it.
So
yeah.
I guess my parting words kind of like come from what it is that like prompted, at least the thoughts that got prompted by what we're here to talk about. What does it mean to be a Latino man? And I guess for me, I feel that being a Latino man comes with a lot of responsibility, especially being a Latino man, a Cuban American in Miami, being white passing, and living in a city where a lot of other Latinos don't get those benefits. A lot of Latinos in the rest of the United States don't have the luxury of going to a gas station where you can get a cafecito, a pastelito, and speak to someone in Spanish and still get your gas and go to work. You know what I mean? Like, that's a luxury to me. That's something that makes me feel at home. And on top of that...
And in New York, we call it a bodega.
A bodega.
Gas station.
Shouts out to the bodega boys.
Shout out to Wawa. You know Wawa?
And I guess, like, living in Miami, being a Latino, a Cuban in Miami, I have a lot of privileges. And I think it's like there is white privilege in America, in the world, really. But I think in Miami there is like a Cuban privilege almost. Like if you look at our elected,
white Cuban,
Cuban privilege. Thank you. If you look at our elected leaders, a lot of them are white Cubans. If you look at the people in power in Miami, a lot of them are white Latinos, white Cubans. And again, it goes to our like the way we vote. I think that's like one of the most important things, and we don't vote the way we should. We vote in a very sort of we vote like we want to be the next people allowed into the group of whiteness. And I think it's problematic. I think it's our responsibility. I think it's our
chill.
I think it's
chill.
I think it's our responsibility.
That's the line.
Having one foot in one culture and one foot in another culture, and having an interesting intersection keyword, being at this interesting intersection, it allows us to have a particular perspective. And I think having that particular perspective and privileges requires us to use that privilege to the benefit of, like, I guess, social justice as a whole. Right? Like, just because I get to walk away from discussions about race, one of my best friends, who is a black man, he doesn't get to walk away necessarily from the same discussion the way I do, because I live in Miami. Once I go drive my car, I'm not in fear of getting pulled over necessarily the same way I would be in other parts of the country, right? So for me, I live in a beautiful oasis for white passing Cubans and other Latinos, and I think it's my responsibility to take that, I guess that place and that platform and use that to our benefit to to get rid of all of these things, to fight to fight the good fight, to help the struggle, because it's also a responsibility to teach our parents, our peers, and educate them on the things that we don't necessarily are educated on, especially in terms of race. I talk to my mom all the time about race, and it gets into a fight, and the reason why is because it's a complicated subject, but I feel that it's our responsibility as people in Miami that understand these things to teach them, to pass them along. You change the mind of one person, you'll change the mind of another person, and hopefully it grows. That's the only way. Like, a lot of people say awareness is dumb, but awareness is very important. I'm sorry.
No, you got it. You were in there, so I respect that. Nelson, 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
He was talking about white Cuban privilege.
Closing words. 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll get to that next time. So I was thinking, about the question, how to be, how do you feel as a Latino man? And I was looking at Latinos are everything. They're Indian, they're black, they're Hispanic, they're white, and everything. So I came up with, how do I feel as a Latino man is with the 5 P's.
Oh, okay.
And the 5 P's is pride, full of pride. My responsibility is to protect my family and what's mine. To provide, is the 3rd P. And the 4th P is the passion that we have within us, okay? Now I said 5 P's.
That's fine.
The 5th P is Poppy, bro. We gotta do Poppy, bro.
I love it.
So that's the 5 P's of being a Latino man. So mine is short, sweet, and simple.
I love it.
And Instagram is kicking us off. And I'll tell you this, man. I think every racial category, every ethnic category has their own reality. Whether you're white, an American white person, I think you have your own reality. And I respect that reality. I respect everyone's reality. And I think because we respect those realities, our reality should also be respected. Right? Being different is not a bad thing. It is something to be embraced. It is something that is beautiful. It is something that makes us unique. It is something that makes our world what it is. So, that being said, thank you so much to you, Rodrigo. Thank you so much to Nelson. Thank you so much. Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for you.
I appreciate y'all logging on tonight. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Next week, we're talking about Kaepernick taking a knee. Is this even American? Is this American? This is not American. Let's talk about it next week. So thanks so much, everybody. Y'all getting so much love right now. Y'all getting so much love. If you missed the show, if you just tuned in, this will be on Instagram for the next 24 hours. So please share it with your friends. And what's your
Negrofino.
yeah, but
On Instagram.
yeah, Negrofino on Instagram. Yours.
Rodrigo Kirsch is my name.
Yeah, and I tagged them both on the promo video. And tomorrow night, salsa. If you're in South Florida, come through Hollywood, Florida. Go ahead.
2020 Hollywood Boulevard at Baritono Cafe. Free salsa class.
Remember to stay woke, y'all.